What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now let's unmask them. Today's guest is an outstanding collegiate and professional player, a young and I'm gonna say young because he's been in the business, a little bit less than 15 years. So we say young. Definitely, I'm sure he'll like that. And a bright assistant coach, a future head coach in the business in my eyes, and he's a Queens, New York native, Duane Woodward. Now you won't hear me call him Duane the rest of the show, so be professional. Everyone knows him as 40, so that's what I'll be calling him the rest of the show, so you don't get confused. 40 was the guy. He played at Boston College. As I said, he had an outstanding career at Boston College. And then for 13 years after he finished at Boston College, he played professionally. And at the same time, while he was coming home for the summers, up to it before he got into the college ranks, he was working with the New York Panthers alongside Gary Charles, coaching with 16s and 17s. And then his first collegiate job, Division III, SUNY Maritime, right up in New York. And then he goes to Queens College for about 2 weeks, starting off as an assistant Division II, but he goes over to Fordham and becomes a video coordinator after those 2 weeks for the 13-14 season. And then he goes to Monmouth for 4 years, get a chance to work with King Rice at Monmouth. And then presently for the last couple of years, he's been at Seton University, just finished up year 2 where they had an outstanding year. Big East champs, so I still got to say congratulations to that. And then he's starting on year 3 coming up. I just want to welcome to the show. I'm going to say it, Duane 40 Woodward, but you won't hear me say that again. Welcome to the show, Duane.
Appreciate it. I made it now. I made it. I got the call, got the invitation from you. I made it now. No, but in all seriousness, I appreciate the invitation. It was definitely not a problem to accept it quickly. But I appreciate the invitation.
Man, you're welcome, man. Well, you know what, man? We're gonna get right to it and get unmasked. Now, you've been on that other side as a player, played professionally for 13 years. You was coaching AAU, but then you go to you're coaching Division III to Division II, and you can talk about either one of the experiences because I don't care what level it is, it's still a transition. But talk about first time, there's no handbook in college coaching. It don't matter what level it is. Tell me about, when that first day, first week, first month, after you're done with human resources or orientation, no one gives you direction because no one says this is A, B, C, D, E. It's no direction. Tell me how that experience was.
Man, it's not easy, tell you that. Like you said, it's no handbook. All I was able to do in every experience is, basically different. But generally speaking, every experience I had to just pick the brain of everyone that's been there, ask questions, watch, just really dissect how things are being ran at every different place that I've been. And it takes some time. Obviously, you gotta find out how the campus works, and not just the athletic side, but the academic side. So it's not easy. And you tend to lean on as many people as possible and just keep your eyes open and just kind of filter what you need to take in. But again, it's like you said, it's no handbook.
Awesome answer, man. Like, okay, recruited. We all know that's the lifeline of college athletics. You got to get good players, good people if you want to be successful. You guys, you did it at Monmouth, definitely. You guys were really good at Monmouth. You had a great run while you were there. You go over to Seton Hall. You continue with Coach Kevin Willard. So just at the Division I level. I mean, you had a very good college coach. Now you get the Division I level as an assistant. So you're working with 2 good guys in King Rice and Kevin Willard. So it's recruiting. Tell me, what was your best and worst recruiting stories you've had over the years?
My best, let me see. Well, obviously, college coaches, you build relationship with the players for, as assistants, especially, you build the relationships for, a lot of time. And the fact that I was able to see some of the kids that I recruited graduate, that was huge. I'll give you one example, the kid, Diego Quinn. He graduated from Monmouth 2 years ago. And I remember this kid when I was coaching with the Panthers, and he couldn't chew gum and run. And he was a project, and he got better. He worked his butt off. Fortunately, when I got to Monmouth, I had the opportunity to recruit him. He came over to Monmouth, and again, he ended his career as a third-team All-MAC player. And this is a kid that no one thought that he would be able to get to that level. You've seen the potential, but you knew it was going to take a lot of work. And just to see him graduate, there was a Ray Salnave is from my high school. I known him from when he was about 12 years old. So to go back to my old high school where I played, I still have relationships and able to recruit him to come over to Monmouth. That was a success story to me. And he ended up graduating this past spring.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. Now we all know that college athletics, man, like you play, you know that. So when you're playing in Europe, you practicing 2 times a day, you play the game, man, you get to college coaching, man, and it's like, 12, 15-hour days plus, because you never know what's going to happen. You don't really get into days off. It's 355 to 360 days a year. And I laugh when people say, when is your downtime? There is no downtime. I don't think they understand that. But like, what did you have to give up or sacrifice achieving your current level of success?
Well, I mean, like you said, I played 13 years overseas, so I was sort of like a robot, sort of a way, because like you said, I woke up, practiced, did lift weights, do a first shooting practice in the morning, come home, relax. In the afternoons, go back for afternoon or evening session of practice, and I got the rest of the night free. College coaches is totally different. You are on all day, all night. You have to be accessible for your phone. So, you give up a lot of your free time. Any other fun things that I used to like to do, just pick up and travel during my off time when I was playing, that's out the door. You rarely get vacation time. And even so, when you are on vacation, you're still working. So, you get that free time that you used to have to do whatever it may be that you want to do. And then, I'm local, so I'm fortunate enough to be able to be around my family that's still in Queens, and my friends that's around Queens and New York. So that's actually good. But again, it's the free time.
So true, man. That's the number one thing, and most every guy says that free time. Scout reports, and we know this, man. Like you invest a ton of time in your scout report, even though you work with other guys on your staff and everybody's, they work to win. But like, the guy when it's his scout report, he's up on the sideline, He's jumping, he's screaming. You know what I'm saying? Like, you put all this work in, you don't understand. Like, man, we went over these sets or these actions, man, all the time, and you don't get it. And then you put in this time, they go out, don't play well. Then sometimes it's, you've done a good job, but you missed some things. Like, or a guy who was 3 for 35, last shoot from 3, all of a sudden he wants to hit 3 or 4 in a game. Coach turning and looking at you like, I thought he couldn't shoot. No, coach, I didn't say that. I said he's struggling shooting. So, and the players think like, you should play off the guy because he's struggling. So talk about, your best and worst scouting report that you think you've had over the years.
I just, since it's fresh in my mind, being at Seton Hall, probably my worst, St. John's in the Garden, not this past year, my first year, so 2 years ago. We were down big in the first half. We were down by 30. And they have a, unique team, a little bit unorthodox. You know, they don't run a lot of sets, but we thought we knew, and we tried to play a little different, um, little play differently the way we guarded them. But we were down by 30 at half. We ended up, we was 22 turnovers or something like that, and they were just blowing our doors off. Second half, we made it respectable. We ended up losing by 8, but it was tough. First half, going into, we watched a lot of film at halftime, so you know we would get killed in the film session and in the garden. My best, I think, obviously, Big East is tough, and every given night, anybody can have their day. But this past year, I had the Marquette scout. We were at Marquette, and boy, we were hitting everything. Miles Powell had about 20, 28 or 30. The kid, big boy, big European, Sandro, he had about 24. Everybody was clicking. And we made them change their lineup. It was a lineup that we had never seen before. And so we were like, they rarely ever do that. And so I'll take credit on that one. Because we were looking at each other like, I'm like, Coach, I've never seen this lineup ever. But we ended up winning on the road at Marquette, and that was a game that we needed to win. So I think that might have been my best one.
You know what? And winning at Marquette is good. That's a tough place to play. Mm-hmm. I was up there for the Marquette Butler scouting that game, and that was on a Sunday afternoon, and I was like, wow, this is, that was the first time I had been in that arena, and I was like, wow, this is a tough place to play, man.
And it was senior night.
Whoa.
Yeah. Senior night. Yep.
Yeah. So, what's the biggest challenge, man, you think you've experienced since you've been in college coaching?
I think my biggest challenge is, you know, when I first got into the business, I still had just stopped playing. And again, after playing for so many years, you in that mindset all the time. So I think that still being in the player mentality, you get the kids talking to you, thinking that you can't go no more, and you so competitive. So you know, you always in that mentality, that player mentality, and ready to compete at all times. And you know, during games, I'm looking like, man, I can go on him, but knowing that my body it's not saying the same thing. so I think just being that player mentality is something always been my biggest challenge since I started coaching.
You know what? You sound similar to Speedy, man. That's how he sounded a lot too. So must be a Queens thing. That's what it definitely is.
Yep, it's in the water.
Do you ever find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand?
Let me see. Well, I think on the road, I've always heard, like, getting into the business. You know, I try to pick everybody's brain and I try to listen. I had a lot of friends that you know has a lot of years in the business, so I used to always pick their brain and listen to them. And so I don't remember who it was in particular, but I remember someone who said on the road, people are always watching you. And, you know, when you're watching games, you know, sometimes you see, you know, coaches talking and that perception, I never wanted to fall into that perception that I'm BSing and I'm not paying attention and doing my job. So when I'm watching games, I try to get locked in and just focus on that. So I think the perception is maybe I'm not, I don't know, maybe as friendly to everybody, but it's not, because when I'm on my job, I'm locked in. I'm watching because I never wanted the perception that people think that, oh, he's talking, he's having fun, he's not really concentrated and locked in on the task at hand, watching the games or the kids. So I've always been in that mentality.
I respect that, man. Stay locked in. Be who you are, man. We're all teachers, man, educators in this business. I mean, you've been around, you know, been around for a long time as a player. But like, what do you try to teach your players besides basketball?
A thing, and I had to learn this, you know, through the years. I think a big thing I like to teach the guys are don't burn your bridges. I think that's really important. You know, you never know when you're gonna need somebody, when you may need somebody. You know, we got guys that it might not work out for you. You might transfer. You might not be as successful on the court as you wanted, but don't burn bridges, because who knows where you're gonna go down the road, and what you might need. You might need me to make a call for you. You might need me to call overseas, somebody overseas for a job, or whatever it might take. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Awesome, awesome, man. What are your best and worst memories in coaching?
My best memories in coaching would be the huge years we had at Monmouth. 2 back-to-back years we had at Monmouth. We were locked in. We were 28-8 that first that first big year, when we were all over the place, all over Sports Center. And that year we had beat UCLA at UCLA, first game of the year. Down in Orlando at that tournament, we beat Notre Dame and USC. We had beat Notre Dame. They were ranked 16. USC is USC. You know, they gonna always have good teams. We beat them. We had one at Georgetown. We had one at Rutgers. We won at Drexel. So we had beat 5 high majors, and Drexel, who was looked upon as being a little bit higher than us. But that was huge. And then the next year, and in that year, we was a #1 seed in the for the NIT. You know, we were pissed off that we didn't get into the NCAA tournament that year. We thought we had done enough, but you know how that goes. And then the following year, we came right back. We had an unbelievable year. I think we were 27-7, and we won at Memphis. We lost in overtime at the buzzer to South Carolina. So those are huge games, and we thought we would have been able to, you know, definitely get into the NCAA tournament. That last year, you know, that first year we had lost in the MAC championship to Iona. So that was always tough, not getting into the NCAA that way. So that's like a huge memory that I have. And just, you know, obviously the antics on the bench, that, you know, that was huge and got us a lot of recognition as well. But we wouldn't probably got as much recognition if we wasn't a good team. But so it just worked that way.
Yeah, that was a great year, man. Watching you guys. Might have been around the same time. I mean, we were the same way. We were we got the 25th in the country, and I was at Old Dominion, and it was like, you know, we ended up being the #1 seed. So it had to be the year before. We were the #1 seed overall as well, and then made a run. We were pissed too, just like you were, and we just said, you know what, forget it. Got to the Garden and played in NIT for the Final Four. You know, and but like those ones you do remember, man. Those are special moments, especially when like no one expected that. But then, like we talked about, you had a great year, and all our kids think about is NCAA,
yep.
and then people deem it as a failure when you don't get there, and don't understand like, yo, these kids put a lot into it. That one bid league stuff hurt, man, especially when you've had a terrific year. I know, look, it's always some ups and downs in this business, man, and maybe you haven't gone through it. I hope you don't ever go through it, but what's the most stressful situation you think you've faced since you've been in coaching, you know, this early, for the last 8 years now?
Stressful. Well, as you know, this recruiting thing is no joke. So obviously that brings a lot of stress, you know. But obviously we get in this business and it comes with the territory, so it's expected. But you know, you get those moments where you put so much work into building a relationship with a kid and everyone else that is around him, and you know, you call that a failure. But you know, we understand that as coaches, we're gonna hear way more no's than we're gonna hear yays. So it's expected. You know what I mean? So we're gonna hear guys say they not coming to our school way more than they gonna say they coming. So you gotta be prepared. You gotta have tough skin, and you gotta stay locked in. But that gets to be stressful, and I've seen it being at Monmouths, being here, doesn't matter where you're at. The expectations is, you got to bring in talented kids and good players to win and be successful.
So true, man. I'm glad you dropped that nugget. Hope a lot of these younger guys are listening to that. This is kind of interesting. What is the strangest, could be the craziest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court you may have seen? Because there's some wild stuff that, you don't talk about it. You don't drop the names, but you be like, wow, this kid really did that? Anything that, like, pop in your head, can pop in your head with that one?
No, offhand, the kid, Diego Quinn at Monmouth, he used to collect swords. He used to collect swords. That's all I can remember offhand. Yeah, so guys used to make fun of him, but if you know him, if you know him, sometime, it's expected for a guy like him. He was kind of loony sometimes, but he was a good kid.
That's interesting, collecting swords. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I even that you've been in it, 8 years, I still see you somehow getting your own program. And you've been at, like I said, you work for King, you work for Kevin, and you probably see what it's like, what it's like to run your program. What type of, what are you looking for? And it doesn't have to be a particular school or any of that stuff, but like, what are you looking for from a school so your program can be successful?
Well, it'll be unfair to say that a kind of model or take one thing from just one person. Everyone I come in contact with, I kind of, my first job out at Division 3 SUNY Maritime, I worked for Jake Scott, worked for Dow Jacobs for two weeks at Queens College. I worked for Tom Pecora for a whole year at Fordham. So, I try to take a little bit of something from everyone. I think a lot of coaches, everyone have their strengths and weaknesses. So I try to take something from everyone. And I think at the end of the day, that'll make me be a more well-rounded coach. But as a school, I think just having the resources to be able to compete on whatever level they are at that moment. I think that's the biggest thing. But again, I've worked at all types of institutions, so I kind of get a feel for how to change according to where I'm at.
Awesome, man. What's the biggest accomplishment you think you've experienced since you've been a college coach?
Individually or as a team?
I'm gonna let you decide that.
As a team, again, I experienced it winning the regular season back-to-back years at Monmouth, so that was unbelievable. This year at Seton Hall, being regular season champs, that was huge. And that was a huge accomplishment. So as a team, those three things stuck out. Individually, again, getting the recruits that you want, seeing them be successful, seeing them graduate. Before I left Monmouth, I had a four-man, I brought in, I think, four-man class. They actually gonna be seniors this year. So I'm looking forward to them guys graduating. And Dion Hammond, he's from Maryland. He was a first team this past year at Monmouth, first team All-MAC. Ray Salnay was a second team All-MAC. So those are accomplishments as well, having an eye for talent, being able to get them into a program and having them be successful. Those are accomplishments to me.
Awesome, man. I love that. I mean, he thought of not just you, but he thought team first as well. So I love that. This will throw you off a little bit. What movie or TV show title best describes your week?
A normal week, like obviously this is July, so we would actually be out recruiting. So I act like I'm still in that mindset. I'll say a movie. How about The Departed? I guess I'll say The Departed, because we would have been in and out of airports, on and off flights. Um, I don't know if that's a good analogy or example, but I'll go with The Departed. That was one of my favorite movies.
I like that. I can go with that one. I definitely can go with that one. What's your favorite word or phrase?
Word or phrase? I gotta give the credit to a OG from Queens ISA tournament, Pete Edwards. He used to have the phrase, "Don't bring your name, bring your game." So I always say that to our players. And I'm like, don't bring your name, bring your game. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear what you did. Bring your game today. So I give the credit to Pete Edwards for IS8 tournament in Queens. It's still one of the well-recognized team tournaments out there, but got to give the credit to Pete.
I like that, man. What's the best advice or piece of advice you think you've ever been given?
Ooh, big piece of advice. I think sweat equity. Sweat equity. Just I think, I've always had that mentality. But I think that helps in any way of life. Whatever you got to do, you put in the work, you sweat it out, you grind. I think you'll see results. So I think that's huge for me. Sweat equity, and that'll help you in any lane that you're trying to get into.
Great answer. Short and powerful. What does success mean to you?
What does success mean to me? I think success means to me is just whatever your goal is, and you go out and you try to accomplish it, and you eventually do, whatever it may be. It can be something as small as it can be something small, it can be something huge, but I think success is just putting whatever your goal is out there and you accomplishing it, and you being happy and sincere in what you accomplish.
I love it, man. Man, we have tough days. You talk about recruiting, have tough losses. Like, where's your happy place, man? Like, where you go to? Like, if it's, it's like, yo, I just gotta mentally. Where do you go to, or even physically?
Might sound corny, but I've always loved being on the court as a player. I knew whatever was going on at that time, I can't be successful on the court and accomplish things on the court if I had a whole bunch of stuff going on in my head and wasn't able to block it out for however long, 2 hours or whatever I am on the court. So I think being on the court is always a calm place, relaxing. And it's, as a coach, I think, that's the results we get. We can't control what's going to happen in the games, but in practice we can kind of put our footprint on what we need to accomplish then. So I think being on the court, I don't know if it's a generic answer, but I think that's actually my happy place.
No, you're not the only one alone like that. There's a lot of players who still say that, like, hey, they might just go to the court and shoot, some days. So you definitely not alone on that. Yeah. You never been a self-promoter. As long as I've been knowing you, you've been around. If you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
3 adjectives. I think one would be ambitious. I'm always looking to kind of succeed. I think another one is confident. I think I got a belief in myself, strong belief in myself, and not in a cocky way, but just a confidence that I can accomplish something that I set out to. And then what would be a third one? I think loyal would be a third one. think most people I come in contact with, you know, they've been my dudes for years. Got guys that I grew up with, still to this day, we still hang the same way, we still talk the same way, and you know, they can say I'm loyal. So I think those three are huge for me.
Three great ones, man. Now, like, what qualities? Because this is gonna be interesting. What qualities do you value in the people with whom you spend time?
I think loyalty. I think that's huge. Um, Loyalty. And again, I like people that's always thinking how I'm thinking as well. Like somebody that's driven, that's always trying to push me to be better, push themselves to be better. During this quarantine, I was able to kind of sit down and relax and really communicate with my friends a lot more and just think about different things. But so I think driven, I think respectful. I like dudes that's respectful and understand, you know, you gotta be respectful in this world, man, and respect everyone.
I love those answers, man. Like, what person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
Um, wow, that's huge. Um, man, that's huge. I just feel like it'd be it wouldn't be right to just single out one person because obviously I could say my parents, but I lean on a lot of people. Besides my family, I think one person that's always been someone I could talk to about anything is Gary Charles. Um, he's he's always there for me. You know, I've been in contact with him since I've been 16 years old, and whatever it's advice, doesn't matter what it is, he's always there. He's gonna tell me the real. If it bothers me, I had to prove myself to him when I was making the transition out of college. I mean, out of playing professionally to trying to get into the college ranks. I had to prove myself. He was like, you know, everybody talk about they want to just be a college coach. You got to show me. So I showed him. You know, I was driving the vans. I was washing the uniforms. I was doing everything. I wasn't getting paid, and I enjoyed it. But again, I had to prove myself to him. So he's always someone. But again, it's so many people in this world that has been there for me in some capacity.
Well, I say this all the time. I always shout out Gee on this. Pat Sellers the same way. He said the same thing. Like, guys just don't, I mean, he's done a lot for a lot of guys. So I feel you on that one. He's always been a great guy to me. So, that why that man, like, you just always got to keep giving him his flowers because he's done a tremendous job for a lot of young men, man. And I don't think enough people don't appreciate that part of what he does. I always like to end with this question. A lot of times is like, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self? So that's, even like you were still playing, like, what would you tell your younger self to prepare for as an assistant coach?
Um, yeah, I gotta go back to the don't burn bridges because I think that's huge. I was somebody that, when I played, I never thought I would stop playing, one, and then two, I just felt like I was never gonna need someone. My college coaches, um, I had great relationships with them when I played, but I didn't nurture that relationship moving forward as the years went on and I was playing professionally. And sure enough, I've been in situations where I might have needed them. So I think you always got to nurture those relationships and don't burn bridges. So I think that's huge.
Great, man. Great stuff. Look, man, I want to thank you again for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Is there anything you want to say to the people before we go?
No, I appreciate you, man. This is a great forum. Just recognizing assistant coaches is huge. we are behind the scenes, so to speak, doing the groundwork, and sometimes, we get overlooked a little bit. But just allowing people's story to be heard is huge. So I appreciate you. I keep doing your thing, and thanks a lot.
Well, man, thank you, man. I appreciate you. So I also want to say thank you, viewers, for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guests as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.